Sorry, my window's broken. Indiana Jones?
This one?
Yeah.
$8 for you.
Good, there you go.
Yeah. Your station's up here for you.
Good, thank you.
Have a good time.
Yeah, you too. She asked me just one. Yeah, I'm alone. You don't have to rub it in. Jeez. I did that thing that people always do when they buy a movie ticket. They're like, have fun, and you should go like, oh thanks, I will, or I appreciate it. But generally you go like, oh, you too. Like, they're not going to see the movie. They got to sell tickets to it. Screen 2. Find a good solitudinal spot. Is that a word, solitudinal? Away from people. Yeah, I had a crisis the other day of thought. I realized that I don't really get out and do anything anymore. I'm doing something almost every night, but it's usually like the same thing. If I'm, at home with my wife, we're usually watching a movie, or I'm like just browsing the computer or doing work for school or something like that. If I hang out with my friends, I usually go over to my friend Dave's house, and we go to his little garage studio that he set up for audio production. And we usually, me, him, and Jason, we usually watch a movie that Jason brings over to show us, because he knows movies, and I kind of know movies, and Dave doesn't know movies, even though he works in movies. So we watch those, and on Saturday night, sometimes I'll go to Jason's house, and me and him and Josh will play like video games, or we'll watch Josh play like video games. But yeah, other than that, I just don't go out. I was kind of having this crisis of thought the other day that like I like maybe I should be doing more things with my life, like going out and having experiences and adventures and things like that. And I had this thought when I was out driving the other day, and I passed this interesting looking store, this storefront with a bunch of neon signs. It kind of looked like a bar, but it looked like just a big deluxe bar, like with more stuff going on inside of it. And I slowed down to pass, and it was one of these places where you go in and like you throw axes at the wall. These have become really popular in recent years. You get some pints and they give you axes and you just throw them around. And I think you have to like sign a waiver. And I've never really been interested in that, although it's an experience. It's kind of a little nighttime adventure you can have with your friends, other than just sitting around the house and watching movies or surfing the internet or whatever and look at all the good times other people are having. And yeah, I was like, there are things out there to do in this town, even like a town like Birmingham that doesn't have, it pretty much closes after 9 p.m. But there's things that you can go out and do. You're an adult. You don't have to just stay in the house all day long. Remember, that's like when we were kids, we just wanted to go out all the time. Like we wanted to go to the movies, or we wanted to go to like Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza before that time, or Six Flags. And we just wanted to do all these things, and we just envied the adults that could like do whatever they wanted. Like if they wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese, they could. Although I think adults at Chuck E. Cheese is probably not a good thing if they're not there with kids. Yeah. Anyway, not to belabor the point, but I just thought that I should be getting out and doing things more. So I decided to come out here to the Grand River Drive-In out in Leeds, Alabama. So rather than staying at home and watching a movie, I'm watching a movie here. So, uh, yeah. And this is Mike Booty. This is the Midnight Citizen Show. I'm your host, Mike Booty. Thank you so much for joining me here. And yeah, I thought it would be nice just to come out to the drive-in tonight. I saw none of the movies really interested me at all. The one that was closest to my interest was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, right? I would have been interested in this movie maybe about 12 or 13 years ago. But as it happens, it's just, you just kind of like the things that you like, and you don't want them to make more things, trying to get you to like them, coerce you to like them just because they're called something like Indiana Jones or Batman or whatever. All those things that you liked as a kid. You just rather stick with those and not have to continue paying money to see these things. But yeah, you heard it there at the ticket window. It was only $8. And it's nice. It's kind of slow tonight at the drive-in. And it's 8:30, so the movie's about to start. Indiana Jones. So they told me a radio station to dial into, and with this new car that I have, it's got like one of these digital tuners, so it's really hard to get white noise on these things. So I don't know. Usually, you tune in your radio to one of these white noise stations. So they're asking me to go to 89.3. So let me see here, 89.3. Where's the tuner? 89. Okay. Oh, it works. That's good. Oh, no, that's 99.3. My cord was covering it up. There we go. Indiana Jones. The Dial of Destiny. Oh, shit. Is this a trailer for the movie? Am I at the right screen? I'm at screen 2, right? Like, over there, they're showing the movie Up. Which, wait a second, that movie came out years ago. I remember seeing it in the theater. Why are they showing Up? That's not a new movie. So you could stay home and watch Up with all your friends in the studio, or you could come and watch it. I don't know. What's going on over there? There's nothing going on at the other screen. So I guess this is the only screen. So this has got to be it. But why are they showing a movie trailer for a movie that you've already bought tickets to? That doesn't make any sense. Is that Indiana Jones riding a horse through the subway? Shit. Oh, why am I seeing this right now? This is silly. I don't know. I don't know. I have heard nothing but bad things about this movie. There was a chance that I was going to come and see this after the last movie, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I didn't hate that movie as much as everybody says that they did. I remember when that movie came out, people liked it. They actually enjoyed it. Everybody always said it's sort of with the caveat that the last like 20 minutes wasn't good. And I agree with that. The last 20 minutes of that movie is pretty awful. But other than that, everybody kind of liked it. And now everybody just says that they universally hate the movie. Like the common comment that I've heard lately is like, yeah, I got the Indiana Jones Blu-ray set. It's 3 great movies and a coaster. And, everybody says that. Yeah, but after the last movie, I was like, okay, that's good. I'm fine with Indiana Jones. I mean, I enjoy Indiana Jones. Definitely grew up on these movies. Like the first one came out the year before I was born, but have very, very strong memories of watching the other two when I was a little kid. And when Kingdom of Crystal Skull came out, I was totally confused why they were making that movie. It seemed to be totally good without them making another movie. But now this new movie's out, and I don't know. I've just heard nothing but bad things about it. There was a chance I was going to go see this movie before it just started getting all this bad press. Okay, the movie's starting. I know that I'm getting into like copyright issues right now. So I won't really play I can tell exactly, like I've heard so much about this movie. I know the plot by now. I know everything that's pretty much going to happen. I'm way out here in the back, and the projection is very dark. But I don't think that's a projector issue. I think most movies that are made now are quite dark. So you got that classic Indiana Jones font. You know, the white stroke with the transparent center, Indiana Jones. And you got a guy in a mask. I wonder who that's going to be. I know who it's going to be. Indiana Jones, de-aged. Look at that. Harrison Ford. Looks like the time that he made that movie The Fugitive 30 years ago. This movie's subtitled? What? They're speaking in English. Wait a second.
Other people's stuff. To the victor belongs the spoil.
That's weird.
To the victor.
You can hear perfectly, but they're subtitling it. Is this just for people who, like, don't want to burn up their batteries in their car? Yeah, that is like a problem when you come out to the drive-in. You're always worried that you're spending your batteries. But, you know, the easy thing to that is just, you know, play it on accessory, and then every once in a while, like every 20, 30 minutes or so, start your car and just get it charged again. You'll be fine. And I think this drive-in does offer a service where they come around and they jump start your battery if it goes out. So, but they don't need subtitles. That's bizarre. Look at that. Even like when somebody is talking, in like another language, it says like in German, explosion overhead. What the hell is going on here? Soldiers clamoring. That's bizarre. And of course you got that problem at the drive-in where there's always somebody who parks at the very, very front and they don't turn their headlights off. Okay, they just did. That's good. All right. So it looks like Indiana Jones is kind of been captured by some Nazis, of course. He's always got to fight the Nazis. The only movie I think he didn't fight the Nazis was in was it Temple of Doom? Temple of Doom. He just fights a bunch of cultists. Were there Nazis in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull? I feel like they were more like communist. I can't remember because that movie took place in the 50s. I think there was still a Nazi or two in that one. Yeah. So yeah, I was just kind of thinking I should get out and do more stuff. And there's things that you can do in Birmingham. There's things like I said, you know, you can go and drink beer and throw axes at things, and there's like the hottest new thing in the past few years has been like escape rooms. You and a bunch of friends go into, get locked in a room, I guess, and you have to solve a bunch of puzzles to escape it. I've never done one of those things because it sounds like it would be a lot of fun. Like I enjoy solving puzzles, but like on a time limit. And when you're with a bunch of people who, under normal circumstances, you kind of have strained relationships with. Like, it's very often been done. Like, I remember when I was teaching, a bunch of other fellow teachers wanted to go and do an escape room. And I think that was even like when I was out working at the park, a bunch of people wanted to go to the escape room. And it's like, I don't know, man. It's just a bunch of clashing egos under the best of circumstances. So I don't know if it would really work here. So I got coffee here. I went to Buc-ee's, got some coffee. I also got some beer. I may be kind of breaking the rules. I don't think you're supposed to have... You can buy beer, but at the snack stand here, and you can't take the beer out of the designated area of the snack stand, which doesn't really make sense to me, because isn't the whole point to, like, buy a beer and enjoy a movie? But I understand. We live in 2023, and you can't have all of your fun in one place. So, all right, what's going on here? We got soldiers speaking German. That's what the subtitle says. There's some Nazis. So I think what this movie is about, what I've heard about it, is that it takes place like in 1969, and it's kind of like the height of the Vietnam War, or right before the escalation of the Vietnam War, I guess. So, like Indiana Jones can very easily go and fight the Viet Cong. But no, it's got to be the Nazis again. Yeah, I think the reason is that the Nazis, like American movies have always dealt with like what's the worst of the worst that we can kill and nobody will have a problem with it. Like the Viet Cong were pretty bad, but I guess we're kind of, I don't know, like they're I think people have a hard time understanding the Vietnam War. I think even back then. So I think if like Indiana Jones was like fighting Ho Chi Minh and all that, people would just not really understand the plot, and they would also get really angry at Indiana Jones kind of, killing a bunch of Asian peoples. But with the Nazis, they're just universally hated. I mean, they're just constantly just popping up throughout history and just kind of being dicks. And it makes a very fun villain for Indiana Jones. Spielberg, when he originally made the first movie in 1981, of course, Spielberg's Jewish. And, the 80s were all about kind of, in a way, rewriting history, even the history that we won. You had like Rambo going into the jungles of Vietnam and saving POWs. But yeah, Spielberg had his chance with Indiana Jones to kind of have this great classic American hero defeat the Nazis by himself. No storming the beaches of Normandy for Indy. All he has to do is just let them open up this artifact and have it melt their faces off, right? So, yeah. Yeah, like villains throughout movie history, obviously there were the Nazis for a very long time, and then there were like the communists, and in the 70s and 80s, it was like Arab terrorists, and then in the early 90s, it was like the IRA. I had no idea what the IRA was, but everybody was always really angry at them in movies and trying to fight them, including Harrison Ford. Remember that movie Patriot Games? The IRA was after him. They came out to his house, and he fought them on like a boat. And then there are like Colombian drug lords and things like that. But Nazis are just, they've always stuck. They're just exactly what audiences need. Yeah. Just universal bad guys. But it is kind of getting a little bit tired at this point. Yeah, so I'm here at the movies. There's another thing that you can do in Birmingham, another thing that you can get away with. They have these like rage rooms. I passed one the other day. I'd kind of heard about it like it was mythologized or something like that. And then I passed this one tiny little office building. And it was like, there's that music, that wonderful music.
One reason you're still alive, Birdwatcher.
So the Nazis are now on a train. And I'm guessing exactly what's going to happen. What always happens in an action movie on a train? Like, I'm not trying to be cynical. I'm not. I'll try and enjoy the movie. But by now, it's pretty much been ruined for me. Like, they started talking about it when the movie came out at Cannes a few weeks ago. And then all the YouTubers started getting tickets, like early access to it, and started talking about how bad it was. But yeah, but there's this thing in Birmingham you can do called this rage room, where you just go in and like break a bunch of stuff. Like they just give you whatever you can find in this room, like vases and glassware and things like that, and old computers. And they just allow you to, I guess they give you like 20 minutes or something. You can go in there and break anything that you want. It's the wildest thing, like the world that we're living in, where you pay money to go in and break stuff. I don't know. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun. I think I will not do that. So, Basil. We were looking for it. Why? Because of its power. Chuckles. It has no power. Like, we can see that he's chuckling, even if you can't hear it. But why are they playing this with subtitles? That's so strange. Is this just part of the movie or something? I don't know. Yeah, at the beginning of this movie, something interesting happened. I was watching it, and they have the credits at the beginning of the movie. And it started out, it said Disney. So yeah, Disney now owns Indiana Jones. That's one of the reasons that Disney, I think, bought Lucasfilm, because Lucasfilm has like two of the biggest franchise properties of all time. They have Star Wars, which they've run that one into the ground, and they have Indiana Jones, which they can't run into the ground because Harrison Ford, to make Star Wars, you need any actor who's available. To make Indiana Jones, you need Harrison Ford. And like I remember in the Force Awakens that came out, Harrison Ford, of course, is in Star Wars, and he was in that one, but he was killed. Sorry, spoiler alert. The movie's been out for a while now, so if you cared about it, you would have seen it by now. But yeah, Star Wars kept going on. They made 2 more movies. They made like a whole bunch of other movies. They made a bunch of TV shows. Like Star Wars is doing fine without Harrison Ford, but yeah, without Harrison Ford, you can't make any more Indiana Jones movies. And yeah, I know they were speculating when Crystal Skull came out that the Shia LaBeouf, who played Mutt Williams, was going to take up the mantle and be Indiana Jones. And they even teased that at the end of the movie. I remember it's like Indiana Jones is getting married to like Marion Ravenwood. And he's kind of walking away from the altar. And a breeze, I think, like blows Indy's hat off, you know, the famous Stetson that he wears. And Mutt Williams kind of begins to pick it up, and then like Indiana Jones comes by and picks it up and puts it on his head, and he's like, "Take it easy, kid." And everybody I remember everybody clapping. Like everybody says that they hated this movie. I distinctly remember people clapping at both. I saw that movie twice in the theater. Both times people clapped. Yeah, they hate it. Whatever. I think they really liked it back in the day. But I think like just time has a funny way of convincing you, like, turning you against your memories. I don't know. But yeah, sure enough, nobody wanted to see Mutt Williams be Indiana Jones because he was kind of a lame hero. It's like the scene from that movie that everybody always criticizes is when Mutt Williams like swings through trees with a bunch of monkeys. You know, it's kind of silly. That's the part of that movie that just went downhill. Right. Like, I honestly think like Crystal Skull, I even liked, I know I'm in the minority opinion here, but I even like the whole opening of that movie when Indiana Jones gets into the fridge and in the middle of that atomic test city, and it blows up and he survives a nuclear attack. Like it was silly, but I don't know. It was just kind of a fun experience to see Indiana Jones, this guy who usually is in like fighting Nazis and all these people who want to take him down. It was just fun to see him in like a new era and essentially fall victim to a product of the U.S. government. You know, it just was like a bit more of a cynical bent. It's like suddenly Indiana Jones has survived all of these adventures against, you know, cultists and against Nazis, and all of a sudden he's going to die in a test attack in White Sands, New Mexico. Is that where that was? Yeah. I like that. I like that opening. Yeah, I liked most of Crystal Skull. I think like it just goes downhill as soon as Mutt Williams starts swinging around with those stupid monkeys. That's pretty dumb. But up until then, the movie's pretty solid. And you know what I have to say is that most movies are not good. That movie was like 75% good. So it was like 75% better than most movies. So I was fine with it. I haven't seen it since. I haven't watched it. I haven't had any desire, but it was perfectly fine. So yeah, but I think like Disney was really hoping that now that Harrison Ford is leaving Indiana Jones, that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to take over for him, or, you know, and, of course, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I guess, comes up later in this movie. I think she plays his goddaughter or something, and very well known for that Amazon show Fleabag, which, my wife Jessica watched a couple of times just by herself, and she liked it so much, and she thought I might enjoy it, and I did. I thought a fantastic show. In an age where we're still getting pretty good television, Fleabag kind of stood out to me. It was a very good show about just Phoebe Waller-Bridge is just kind of this like scummy character who has an affair with like her best friend's boyfriend, and then her best friend ends up like walking into traffic and killing herself, and she kind of has to live with that while she continues to just make really bad self-destructive decisions and find a little bit of redemption. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It's a great show. And it's hard to see her in anything outside of that show. So it's very, very bizarre that she's in this movie. She's coming up soon. I cannot really see her in anything other than Fleabag and maybe some other kind of British television with like a cynical edge to it. Man, they're still on that train. This is a long opening sequence. What was the opening sequence of Raiders of the Lost Ark when he goes into the shrine there? What is it? It's like 8 minutes long, all the way up until he Alfred Molina gets like stabbed by all those things, and Belloc comes in and kind of steals his thunder. Yeah, that was like 8 minutes long. Temple of Doom is kind of a big opening Busby Berkeley production number, and then he has to escape Club Boba Fett with Short Round. And that whole opening sequence is maybe 10 minutes long. Last Crusade, which is fantastic opening sequence with him on a train again. I don't know. Did they see this? Did they see that movie before they made this one? Like, we've already seen Indiana Jones hopping from train car to train car. Even if it was little Indiana Jones, it was River Phoenix. We've already seen it. I don't. So already this movie is just kind of putting a bad taste in my. I want to go to this with an open mind. I really do, but I just can't. It's like too many people have talked about it by now. I guess part of that's my fault. The movie's been out for like a week now, so all my friends have seen it, and all my friends, like my friend Jason, saw it, and he was definitely going into it with an open mind. He was really excited to see it, and he saw it with a kid, with his nephew, and yeah, he and even he said it was like 2.5 stars. And usually Jason's 2.5 stars is usually like my 1.5 star or 2 stars. So it's like that kind of sealed its fate. Like if Jason didn't like it, I probably won't. But I don't know. We'll keep going. This opening sequence is still going on. Movie's been on for 22 minutes now. It's 8:52. So let's just see what happens. I don't know. Maybe I should have gone to the rage room. Maybe that would be a good business, I think. Go to a movie and then surround yourself with a bunch of breakable objects. And if the movie's not good, you start breaking things. Like a little kid. There you go. That would be good. All right, so we're about 50 minutes in now, I guess, or so. Somewhere around there, like an hour. And it looks like Indiana Jones is in his full Indiana Jones cosplay, and you got Helena Shaw, who turns out is kind of like her character on Fleabag. I'm kind of understanding it now. She's sort of a traitor, but kind of not. I guess she just doesn't give Indy all the information. She kind of shows up in his classroom at the beginning of the movie with seeming to know more than he does about his lesson, which is about Archimedes' dial, kind of finishing his sentences. And she gives him a little bit of information, just enough to kind of complete what she knows about it, which is sort of fitting for the MacGuffin of the dial, because I think like Indiana Jones or whatever takes her to a museum or the archives and shows him part of the dial, but I guess they need the second part, and the Nazis show up. I think that's what's happening here. I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention. I've been recording. They've still got the subtitles going. I'll do it. Indiana, what are you? Hey, screaming, shouting in Arabic. Motorcycle chases. I went to the bathroom just a minute ago, and I walked past the other screen that was playing Up, and now it's playing a new movie, I think Elemental. They had subtitles there as well, so it's so bizarre. This drive-in's been open for about a decade now. It used to be under different management, but they never had subtitles, and suddenly they do. So I guess maybe people were complaining, like, I can't hear the movie. I don't know. That's odd to me. I don't know. They probably come out here a lot more than I do. So, yeah, it's so far. I didn't really care for the opening train sequence, though, as you know, I wasn't really paying that much attention. I just saw Indiana Jones on a train. I did like most of that opening sequence, the next sequence, where it cuts to 1969 and Indiana Jones, just kind of an old man living in like a crummy apartment. Not at all like living in his nice kind of rural university. Like the previous movies. He's just living in this like crummy tenement. His next door neighbors are a bunch of hippies. I won't bore you with it. They do go to the classroom, which is what I love about all the Indiana Jones movies. All the Indiana Jones movies, with the exception of Temple of Doom, actually show Henry Jones at his day job teaching archaeology. That's what's so much fun about the character, is that he's a teacher, like me. I'm not saying that Indiana Jones got me into teaching. It wasn't that at all. There may be some people out there who say that, but that's not me. Curiosity got me into teaching. But nevertheless, Indiana Jones is a teacher. Dr. Jones. And he's so obsessed with what he does, and he loves what he teaches so much that he will do anything. He will risk life and limb to go and keep these things that he likes, these obsessions, these artifacts that he thinks are so important to understanding human knowledge and human history and the human psyche. He'll do anything he can, even if it has to mean, taking a few weeks off of his leave, using up his entire sabbatical to go and get these things, right? That's what's so much fun about Indiana Jones, is that he loves teaching. And, in the classroom scene in this movie, he appears not to like teaching at all. He doesn't seem to care about the students don't seem to care about him. So I have to say right there, that's very much breaking the character of Indiana Jones. But I guess that could be a comment on the fact that, all of us, when our best days are behind us, we kind of lose interest in everything that we used to love. So that makes sense. I understand that. But they did do a joke, though. Again, I don't think the people who made this movie saw any of the previous Indiana Jones movies. I think maybe they bought the action figures, or their friends told them about them or something. But they do this joke that they did in the last Indiana Jones movie, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Maybe everybody forgot that one, but it's a great joke, because in the first, in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, they cut to the classroom scene, and Indiana Jones is teaching, and all the kids are looking at him, and especially the girls, they have written like "love you" on their eyelids, because they're so in love with him, because he's Harrison Ford and he's just this handsome teacher. And that's a great joke, and a great character moment, because Indiana Jones is so obsessed with his teaching, and he's so into what he does, that he doesn't notice all these girls are kind of into him. That's the reason they're taking his class. So yeah, like in actually no, it's not Crystal Skull. I think it's Last Crusade. It's Last Crusade, where Indiana Jones is now teaching, and he's like 10 years older. He's still doing the same thing. He's still enjoying his teaching, but now all the kids in the class look bored, because he's gotten older and he's kind of lost that appeal, that young, handsome teacher appeal. And that's a great joke. And they did the exact same thing in this movie. He's not into teaching this time. I mean, I guess that's kind of funny. Ha ha ha. He's lost all of his enthusiasm for life, including his profession. I guess that's funny. That's supposed to be, hey kids, old people don't care. Okay, great. Um, and yeah, none of the kids in the class are interested at all, and they're also kind of stupid. He's talking about the Battle of Syracuse, and because they're in New York, I guess he's teaching at Columbia University or something. This one girl's like, "You mean Syracuse, New York?" And he's like, "No, Emily," or whatever. He knows her name. That's kind of funny, but again, they did that joke already, so it's like they can't come up with anything new. I don't know. So yeah, now he's in the streets of some Arabic country, and people are chasing him, and he's like on one of those cabs that they use to get around, those like tricycle cabs. And Helena Shaw's there. So that's what's going on in Indiana Jones right now. Now let's go and see what's happening in your neck of the woods, right? I could do that. I could be like the Willard Scott or Al Roker of the drive-in. Like that. Let's go. I hope I'm recording right now. It's very, very dark. I can hear myself. And I can see. I've made that mistake. Okay, so I did forget about this. I guess I must have been in the bathroom when this was revealed. I don't know. But there's this guy in this movie, Schmidt. I think he's like a member of Operation Paperclip, I believe. That was the American Defense Department's plan during World War II to export a lot of Nazi scientists like Werner von Braun, and bring them to Huntsville, Alabama, to engage, I guess, in the space program. Is that right, or something? Or no, build the atomic bomb. What were they doing? It's been so long. I should know this stuff. Honestly, I do know this stuff. It's just been, I don't know. It's probably been told to me. This movie's probably been trying to teach me something. I've forgotten about it. But yeah, like former Nazi scientist did pretty much build the space program from the ground up. A lot of them were exported out and brought to Huntsville, Alabama, where they built the Saturn V rocket, and a lot of that is covered in Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. But yeah, I remember I was driving the other day, and I saw this thing pop up from the local newspaper here saying, "See Alabama's connection to the new Indiana Jones film." And I thought maybe like an actor was in it or something. But no, it turns out that like the bad guys are Nazi scientists. So I think that's what's going on. Yeah. So I wonder if I can have a beer here. I'm kind of far away from everybody. I know it's kind of against the rules. I think usually they have like kids on golf carts who kind of circling around and patrolling for people who bring in like illicit beverages or certain recreational smoking devices. But I haven't seen any in a while. So I think I'm going to have... Yeah, I'm going to sneak in here and get a beer. Thinking of going with like some nice gourmet stuff. But no, I wanted to get like a good drive-in beer, so I got this Coors. Used to be able not to get Coors in the South, or I guess maybe east of the Mississippi. Remember that movie Smokey and the Bandit? It's all about them picking up a shipment of Coors and like in Texarkana, Arkansas, and driving it to Atlanta, so everybody could have a Coors party. I've been drinking. I've been getting beer lately to drink because it's just been the summer. It's been too hot to like have things like whiskey, even if you put ice in it. And usually I've been like I've been talking about on recent episodes of my show, delivering food a lot and just doing any other kind of delivery job that I can work with that'll give me some, money. Like Amazon delivering food packages and groceries through Amazon Flex and all that. And usually I'll work pretty much 7 days a week, and I'll work 8 days a week if I could. Because I am living a life right now where I am working towards something, and usually when you're working towards something in life, you're not making as much money as you could. So I'm working toward a graduate degree in English literature, and after that, like hopefully a PhD. And so I can teach college like Indiana Jones and have great globe-trotting adventures. That'd be nice. Trying to find like rare books or something. Fighting neo-Nazis or skinheads or whatever. Whatever villain that I can kill without anybody getting upset and pitching a big fit over. Be nice. So, so yeah, until that day comes, I am just kind of taking any old job that comes along. So I am delivering food quite a lot, and it's keeping me above water. And usually at the end of the day, after a long day of delivering, I'll go and get myself some beer at the local supermarket, like at the Piggly Wiggly or the Winn-Dixie or something. And yeah, the other night it's like 8 o'clock, and I go and get myself some beer, and I realize I still have a little bit of time on my hands. I can go and make a little bit of extra money before I go home and drink this. So I decide to turn on the Uber Eats app, which is not my favorite app, and I've said this before, because when you accept an offer with Uber Eats, they tell you where you're going to pick up, but they don't tell you where you're going to go. So you have no idea where you're going when you accept an offer from Uber Eats. And so I'm just kind of driving around there, and suddenly I get a ding, and it's Uber Eats, and they want me to go to Walmart to pick up somebody's groceries. And, that's kind of a drag. But it's a pretty decent amount of money I'm going to get for it, and I may get a tip for it. So I go to Walmart, and I just wait in the parking lot, and, this guy brings out all these groceries. I mean, just a crazy amount, like just something like 15 or 16 bins of groceries. And I haven't had that much to drink, jeez. That's my third sip right there. So the guy helps me like load in a bunch of groceries into my car and just throws all of the bags in the back seat and in the trunk. And I'm out of there in like 5 minutes. And so all of a sudden, I hit, shipment received on the app, and it directs me to go to what is pretty much the worst of the worst neighborhoods in all of Birmingham. Now, Birmingham has gotten a lot of bad press pretty much for the last 20 years for being like the third most violent city in Birmingham. And the neighborhood where Uber's got me going is pretty much like right on target as being like just the worst of the worst. And it's like it was in the paper not too long ago as being like the pilot program for this new shot spotter system. These, cameras with ultra-sensitive microphones that pick up gunshots and send them immediately to the police. And so now they're using them in like cities across America. Well, this neighborhood where I was going, that was like where this thing started. It was like the Huntsville, Alabama of the space program, right? So I'm very nervous about this, and I delivered to bad neighborhoods before, but usually during the day, and usually just food where I can kind of run it to the door and just get right back in my car and speed out of there. But this time is just a little bit different. So I'm being very, very careful, very cautious, and get a little bit comfortable when I'm pulling into this neighborhood because there's like a whole bunch of cops with their sirens on, their flashers on in the neighborhood where I'm delivering. Either something had just happened or some complaint was being called or something. I don't know. I'm sure I would read about in the newspaper the next day. And yeah, I pull up with all these groceries in my sleigh, and this woman instantly says, like, "Hey, I'm over here, I'm over here." So I pull up, and she, calls out to her kids who are just walking around the neighborhood. There's like these two girls who are walking around, and it's like this hot summer night, and they come over, and she says, "Help me get these groceries in the car." So they start helping me unload everything, and everything's going really well. And it's actually kind of this nice moment. We're all sort of working together. These, people from totally different sets of Birmingham, these totally different neighborhoods, and working to accomplish this one task. And I can't help but notice that there's something kind of nice in that. Lovely, right? And soon enough, all of the groceries are unloaded. And I have this one thought. Oh my gosh, wait a second. I can't find my beer that I just bought. So I'm looking and looking. I can't find any beer. And I realized this kid at Walmart must have thought that the bag that was in the back seat that had my beer was their beer. So he must have just put it in with a bunch of other stuff, and it's totally my fault. I'm not blaming him at all. But all of a sudden I'm missing my beer, and I paid a lot of that. It was gourmet beer from one of the local microbreweries in town. And I said to the woman, this is a little bit embarrassing, but I think that your kids may have accidentally taken my beer. And she starts to get a little bit mad, thinking that they had stolen beer from me. I was like, no. I had a bag of beer back there. It totally blended in with all the other groceries. Would you mind just checking to make sure? And so she goes in, and listen, this is one of the neighborhoods that's constantly talked about on the local news. It's there's constant murders there. There's thievery. There's just the bad element there. It's just a bad area. But on this hot summer night, it's a perfectly calm neighborhood. There's people sitting out on porches, watching baseball games, just talking. I mean, the whole place smells of marijuana like crazy, but these days, what neighborhood doesn't? All this woman has to do is go in there and see my beer, and then she has to come out and say, "I'm sorry, I don't see it." But she doesn't do that. She comes out, she's got the full 6-pack. And she's like, "Here you go, I'm sorry." And I was like, no, it's my fault. I should have separated it. I didn't think about it. And she hands the beer to me, and she's like, "So what kind of beer is that, so I know what to get next time?" Because I think what she's saying is, "You must be the expert." And I looked at it, and I said, "Well, it's Trim Tab. They're a local microbrewery in town." And these words I could see really didn't mean shit to her. And she's like, all right, I'll think about it next time. I'll get some. And I was like, and we kind of have this moment. And I look at her, and I'm just like, do you want one? And she's like, hell yeah. So I, peel one off, and I give her the Trim Tab. And she's like, "Thank you." And I'm like, yeah, no problem at all. I'm glad to share it. She takes it back inside, and I take the other 5 beers in with me. And, yeah, it's kind of just a nice, lovely moment between neighbors. Even though we don't live in the same neighborhood, we share the same city. We shop at the same Walmart. It's just kind of a nice moment. Then as I'm getting my car, I just hear "Hey, man, what you got?" And I turn, and there's this guy who's been sitting on her porch the whole time, just sitting by watching me load in all these groceries with this woman and her kids. He's just been totally just sitting back there watching this. I don't even see him. He's just in the shadows. And I was like, "Oh, beer?" And he's like, "All right, man, all right. you gonna have yourself a good time tonight." I'm like, yeah, I think so. And I didn't know what to say. And I was like, if the weather holds out, I have no idea what the hell that meant. And then I got my car and just drove off through the haze of marijuana smoke. So, yeah. That's the one thing about delivery jobs that I actually really enjoy these days, especially like these long summer days where I don't have class and I don't have to tutor in the university writing center. Just getting up at like 9 o'clock in the morning and just all the way until 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, just delivering all over town. And you just go and see every walk of life. You know, Birmingham is it's a city of 99 neighborhoods, and a lot of them are just unincorporated municipalities just spread out all over the place. And you just drive around all day long and you see different different walks of life, different classes, different races, just a very diverse city, different ways of living, neighborhood markets, and just that have been around since the 1960s and 70s, just run by the same families. And the other day, it was so bizarre because I ended my day in like Gate City. That's the place. That's the name of where I was, is Gate City, Alabama. Just one of those places that, is just constantly in the news. I ended my day in Gate City, and I started my day delivering out to the Mountain Brook Country Club. Just like if you've ever seen the movie Caddyshack, just pretty much the same exact thing. Just, the richest of the rich people out there just riding horses and playing tennis and golfing and going to the pool. They valet for your cars, and it's and just that's just one of the things that I love about being in my car and just delivering, is just seeing these like parts of the city that most people just don't just are in their bubbles, and I enjoy. I think you get the point. I think you get it. All right, so what's going on now? So like they're underwater, okay. So Indiana Jones and Helena Shaw are kind of diving down into the ocean. There's Clobber there. Who is Clobber again? Glaber? Is he a bad guy? I don't know. Panting, gun cocks. Still with the subtitles. So on. Ronaldo. Who are these people? Nazis. First, you return my dial, Dr. Jones, and now you bring me the Gaffacos. Apparently the Dial of Destiny, it's like this thing that doesn't allow you to travel in time. It tells you where certain time fissures open up so that you can travel in time. So it's like a middleman between you and time travel. It's a very bureaucratic way to travel through time. Of course, I do believe that when we do eventually figure out time travel, it will be very bureaucratic. You'll need like a certain number of forms, and you'll have to get this, and that signed, and it'll be very much like going to like the Department of Motor Vehicles or something like that. Yeah, someday I may end up in a classroom and again going to one single place and working 10-hour days in the same place. And that'll be fine as long as I enjoy the work. Like I said, like I really did tolerate teaching above a lot of other jobs that I've had in my life because it was It felt like there was purpose there. It felt like it was something that I enjoyed doing, and I was always moving. There was never any time to think, "Ugh, I'm at work." There were, clock watching. You never did that. Um, but I don't know. Right now, I'm kind of like Indiana Jones, even though he's getting like beaten up by Nazis and things like that. He looks like he's having a good time, more or less. Like he's kind of doing what he sort of wants to do. That's the point of this movie, is that he's really, really bored in the classroom. And this is like one last adventure. Of course, they've been saying that since 1989. You realize this is the third Indiana Jones movie that's been marketed to us as The Last Crusade. um, but I don't know. I'm having like a fun time just kind of being out and about in this world. And I don't want to be a professional delivery driver, but for the rest of my life. But right now, I'm just seeing things that, just having experiences that a lot of people my age like don't want to make themselves privy to, but at the same time, they're privy to a lot of things that I don't even know that I want to see, that I may want to. So we all enjoy our own things. I was thinking the other day that this may be a mentality of mine that goes all the way back to elementary school, in which case I may be screwed, where I just don't like to be in one place at any one time. And I remember, I haven't thought about this in years, but something triggered my memory. I don't know what it was, but where every week during the fifth grade, a different person would be designated the juice, the juice man. And you know what you would do about 1:00, 1:30 in the afternoon, you and another classmate would go down to the cafeteria and get afternoon juice for everyone. Right? And you would go and deliver that juice to everybody on your hall who was in your grade. And you'd kind of be like a celebrity for the week in a way. You would deliver sweet juice to thirsty people. And I just always enjoyed that. Getting out of like math or whatever I was doing at the time and being able to roam around the halls kind of on my free will. And just walk and give people things. And it was like there was no mental acuity required. It was just simple walking and delivering and doing it with confidence, and everybody just appreciates you for it. It's very nice. That was like the first time I remember delivering food. And throughout my life, as I've said on previous episodes very recently, I've always sought to just work in my car and deliver food and or just make some kind of living being mobile. In which case I may be screwed because, I mean, I could be like 60 years old with a doctorate, a tenured professor at a university, and I'll just be bored up there in front of the classroom teaching students, and they'll be bored because they pick up on how bored I am. And I'll just want like a Fiona Shaw or Helena Shaw, whatever her name is, to just be sitting up there trying to pull me into like one last adventure, delivering for Grubhub. I don't know. All right, so we're I think approaching the third act of the movie, or the fourth act or the fifth act. This is a pretty long movie, and getting to the point now that seems to be among everybody who's seen this movie, whether they like it or not, just their most hated moment. Looks like Indiana Jones is about to travel in time with this Nazi who wants to do the most cliched time travel thing of all time. You know, you ask anybody, where would you go if you could travel through time? Oh, I'd go back and kill Hitler, or I'd go back and warn the Titanic. You know, it's like that question: who would you like to have lunch with? Jesus, Gandhi. Yeah, it's pretty tired. In this case, I guess it's kind of a twist because Indiana Jones asked this guy what kind of a Nazi would kill the Fuhrer, and he says the kind who wants to win. So I guess the thinking is that they're thinking that Hitler, it was because of Hitler that they lost the World War II. You know, it wasn't because Germany, which is a pretty small country, thought that it could take on the entire world. It's a Napoleonic complex. They should call it a Hitler complex. But yeah, this guy thinks he's going to kill Hitler and win the war. It's so silly. He's ready to travel back in time, and he gets out a suitcase with all of his Nazi things in it so he could like dress up in his Nazi uniform again. That's silly. There's this little kid running around. I don't know when he came in. Again, I think that was when I was in the bathroom. He's kind of like the short round character. I bet they're kicking themselves for not getting short round for this movie, because when this movie was made, that kid was still in relative obscurity as an actor, and then he wins the Academy Award this year, and now he's like a big star. Oh man, yeah, for that movie Everywhere, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I never can say the title of that movie right, but yeah, he won an Oscar for that. I saw that movie. It was okay. It was way, way, way too long. It was like this movie. It's just like, I think that movie would have been really good. I really liked that movie for about an hour and a half, and then it just felt like it kept trying to end. It just went on way too long. But I don't know. People really liked it. It won Best Picture. It was a big deal here in Birmingham, Alabama, of course, because one of the guys who directed it was directed by two guys. One of the guys who directed it, Daniel Scheinert, is from Birmingham. He actually went to Shades Valley High School with my wife, Jessica. They were classmates together, along with the guy who edited the movie, who also won an Oscar. I think his name is Paul Rogers. Yeah, it was really bizarre because like 20 years ago, I was a member of a sketch comedy group, and we used to make short films and enter them in the Sidewalk Festival here in Birmingham, and we would compete against Daniel Scheinert and his team of local filmmakers when he was still in high school, this kid. Still in high school, I think. And, their team was named Soppy Suit. And the very first movie he made was at a place where I used to work called the Bean Hole, this coffee shop where I worked when I was a sophomore in college. And it's so weird. 20 years later, he's winning the Oscar for Best Picture. He's standing up there with an Oscar. And making a movie where Short Round from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom wins an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. It was very, very surreal. Very odd. So, but yeah. We would always lose to this high school kid, and it destroyed us. It made us so sad that we couldn't do what a high school kid could. But now it's kind of, we kind of feel a little bit vindicated because he's a talented guy. So I just wish he would make his movies a little bit shorter. So, oh, Archimedes didn't know about continental drift. Okay, so this is the scene I always keep hearing about, that like they make a miscalculation, and I think they're about to travel back to like 200 AD or something like that. And yeah, this is where the movie just kind of, everybody seems to hate this ending. I will say, I've kind of been enjoying this movie. Not to just be a contrarian, but I haven't been watching it with the sound on. I've got the sound on in my car, but I'm sitting outside right now with a cigar, and I can't really hear it. So I'm just watching it with subtitles. The subtitles are really working for me. I'm kind of liking the subtitles. Two thumbs up on the subtitles for this movie. And I think the way to watch this movie is with the sound off, because it's fun to see Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. And it's fun to see him in that costume and running around, and it's fun to see him fighting the Nazis. Just not really paying attention to the story. Like, I don't know who that kid is. I don't know who any of these people are, really. Okay, so they're flying through like a big fissure in time, like in the Langoliers. Okay, that Stephen King movie. Okay, so there's people shouting in German. There's grunting, wind whistling. I don't think you need to be like hard of hearing to know that when you're in a giant plane going through the sky that there's wind whistling. I think that's kind of a needless, superfluous subtitle, but whatever. Pilot continues shouting, both screaming, plane rattling, screaming, panting. Oh, they changed it up a little bit. Now they're back to both screaming. Even though we can see they're screaming, there's somebody shouting in Italian. Okay, so this is so silly. I love it. It's so absurd. So, in Indiana Jones, there's always canon. There's always things that you can expect to see. Like, you can always expect to see Indiana Jones kind of walking through like a scary, cavernous place. And there's usually like creepy crawlies like insects or rats or snakes. And we've gotten this in this movie. He finally gets to a tomb of like Archimedes or somebody. I don't know who it is, but and with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I can't remember if her name is like Fiona Shaw or Helena Shaw. Is Fiona Shaw an actress? And I think Helena Shaw is the character. I don't know. But Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and they're walking through a temple. And, so far in the lore of Indiana Jones, Marion Ravenwood is the only one who's really been able to kind of stomach these temples. She gets along pretty well in the Well of Souls with all the snakes. But Willie Scott and all the others can't really do it. And Phoebe Waller-Bridges doesn't really pass the test. She gets in the tomb and like all these bugs start crawling over her. And of course there's CG bugs. They can't put real bugs on actresses and actors anymore because PETA would get involved, and I don't know. Of course, if I was an actor, you couldn't pay me all the money in the world to get those things on me. But yeah, she freaks out and kind of screws it all up for Indiana Jones and gives away their location to the Nazis inside the tomb. So yeah. All right, so now they're in like the big battle in Sicily. So now it's completely taken a 180. It's no longer about Nazis. So, okay, so this movie can kind of go one of two ways. It can sort of like Indiana Jones tries to kill the bad guy Nazi, or they can work together to get back home. I kind of like the idea of them working together, but I don't know. Indiana Jones working together with a Nazi, I don't know if that would be a good idea. So anyway, I'm just not really paying attention to this movie. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think the way to watch this movie is with the sound off and recording a podcast. And with maybe a cigar. I am enjoying this Punch cigar and a Coors beer. So I think I've discovered the perfect way to watch this movie. Okay. All right. 214 BC, we got the wrong war. This is so silly. Oh my God. Why did they think this was going to work? It's just a big joke. It's like a 2-hour movie with like a joke with like a punchline. I don't know. Okay, so Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. But yeah, there are certain tropes you just expect from Indiana Jones, or certain things that you expect in the canon. This movie, I think, is confusing that a little bit. Like, it's getting the creepy crawlers correct, the raiding tombs. It's getting all that right. The being in the classroom while the kids are either adoring or bored by Dr. Henry Jones. I think what it's getting wrong is there are just certain things that the movie's doing that it thinks is Indiana Jones canon, when in fact they're just tired movie tropes. Like, for instance, the double cross. Like in the first Indiana Jones movie, it's like the boat captain who kind of helps Indiana Jones escape with the Ark of the Covenant. Kind of gives up Mary and Ravenwood over to the Nazis, and then Indiana Jones kind of goes on, and it turns out like he's actually a good guy. Like, he's only pretending to betray Marion. And you got like that also in The Last Crusade with the woman. I can't remember her name, but the actress name is Alison Doody, who turns out to be a Nazi, kind of helping Indiana Jones at first and then betraying him. And then in the Crystal Skull movie, you got like Ray Winstone, who is constantly double crossing and then triple crossing Indiana Jones, like being his friend and then not being his friend and then being his friend again and then betraying him again. It just gets silly. And then in this movie, you had the same exact thing where Phoebe Waller-Bridge is on a boat and she's kind of trying to make all the Nazis think that she's helping them now, when in fact she's just helping Indiana Jones escape. That's not really like canon Indiana Jones. It's not really like that's just a tired movie trope, and this movie does it. So yeah, like they're flying over this big battle in like 220 BC. And the battle is still going on. You would probably think that a bunch of planes flying over like a Roman battle would suddenly kind of put everything to a halt. Like, even in the scene that we're watching right now, like there's all these there's like this plane that's landing on the beach, and Phoebe Waller-Bridge is there talking to Indiana Jones, and all these ships are in the background just sailing away. Nobody seems to really care about it. It's like in the drive-thru right now, in the drive-in right now, if like a big alien ship like landed, I think I would probably have to stop recording and maybe see what they want. I don't know, but I've never experienced anything like that. So, talking about nice moments between delivery drivers and customers. You may have seen this week something went viral where there was this DoorDasher who delivered a pizza to this woman, and the woman says thank you, and the delivery driver gives her the pizza and says thank you, and I just want to say, this is on a Ring doorbell camera, so we have footage of this. That's how we have footage of it. Says, I just want to say, this is a really nice house for a $5 tip.
Nice house for a $5 tip.
You're welcome.
Fuck you.
And unsurprisingly, that guy was fired by DoorDash. I, too, was fired by DoorDash. But I didn't do what they said I did, which is I delivered food to somebody, and then they called DoorDash and said that I didn't deliver the food, and DoorDash instantly fired me because they would rather have a happy customer than a happy driver. And, whatever, to each his own. But yeah, in this case, this guy did what he was accused of because it's right there on camera, and I don't understand why somebody would use such language and such an attitude with somebody when they know that they're being recorded. I mean, every place I go to has one of those Ring doorbells. It doesn't matter what part of Birmingham I go to. Mountain Brook, Gate City. You know you're always being recorded. And all it takes is for the customer to, call in and they can instantly get you fired. They don't want to hear your side of it. So what just happened? Phoebe Waller-Bridge knocked out Indy. So what is this, like is she a triple agent? And now it's opening up on like the same shot from the beginning. Like there's where the camera kind of pans from the apartment into Indy's, through Indy's window. So I don't know what's happening now. Is the movie almost over? I don't know. What time is it? But yeah, I just don't understand why people would do that. And I understand delivering food is can be a little stressful sometimes because customers are very entitled anyway, and they're even more entitled the less work they have to do in order to get their food. But, nevertheless, like a tip is a tip. The guy got $5 for picking up food and taking it to this woman's house. I mean, there wasn't really much work in that. And the woman went online and she shared her receipt, and it turned out that $5 was actually a really good. Like the pizza cost her $22 and she tipped $5. Like that's a pretty healthy tip. So, yeah. That goes back to what I was talking about on the last episode, where I've just always wanted to be in a position where I could do a job like this. I could just like get in the car and turn on the meter. And that kind of dream was not possible 5 years ago, but now you can do it. You don't have to go in and work. I was asking that guy at Walmart the other night who was helping me load the groceries in the car. I said, did you ever think about delivering? And he said, well, I tried it and it just wasn't for me. I kind of just like, being in one place. And I said, yeah, totally. And so that's the thing. It's like 5 years ago, we all had to be in one place unless we wanted to go out and drive like a taxi or something like that. Maybe not 5 years ago, maybe 10 years ago or something like that. And, yeah, just like now we have this power over our lives in a way that we didn't have to anymore. And we're going around like cursing at customers for actually paying you money to do something that you would have to go and get a delivery job to do like 5 years ago. Like, I remember one time I actually worked for Papa John's Pizza, delivering food for like one day. And I hated it because most of it was not delivering. Most of it was just, you had to go into the store and actually help make the pizzas, and then you had to go deliver the pizzas. I just wanted to be able to just get in my car, pick up pizzas, and deliver them. And that was not the job. And most of the time people didn't tip. Like, you think that that's pretty standard. You tip for a pizza, but most people don't do it. Now it's just like understood that you're going to tip on these driver apps, right? So I just think, like, I don't know if that guy was just a really young guy who has always had DoorDash, but but I don't know. I mean, I just think it's very bad form. Very bad form to get paid base pay for DoorDash with a tip on top of it. Like, you always get a guaranteed minimum. I don't know. Okay, so now we're in the end of the movie, I guess, and Mary and Ravenwood just walked in the apartment. And Sala just walked in the apartment. I don't know what he's doing there. He just came in. Is this like the end of Back to the Future where he went back in time and now he comes to the present and everything's much better, like like the end of Back to the Future. I know that like these days people have a problem with that because he's kind of like poor and living like a shitty middle class existence at the beginning of the movie, and then he goes back in time, and suddenly he's like rich, and his parents like vote for Ronald Reagan. But it's so I don't know what's going on here at the end of Back to the Future. But there's Karen Allen, there's Marion Ravenwood back for another go. That was something that the Indiana Jones movies always did different, because I know that Spielberg originally wanted to make a James Bond movie, but I don't know what happened. Like, the people who had James Bond didn't want to give it to him, and that makes no sense to me, because, you know, when Spielberg wanted to make that movie, it was like he was like the biggest director under 30 in Hollywood. You know, he made two of the biggest movies of all time, Jaws and Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And for some reason they didn't want to they didn't want him to direct James Bond, so he went off and made Indiana Jones. And so they just denied him that. And so Spielberg makes Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones is supposed to be like a secret agent type of guy, like James Bond. And James Bond never has the same woman twice, right? And that's kind of what the original three movies were like. Like, he had Marion Ravenwood in the first one, and Willie Scott in the second one, Kate Capshaw, who ended up marrying Steven Spielberg. And then that Nazi woman in the third movie, who he ended up not being with. But yeah, then the Crystal Skull comes in, and they bring Marion Ravenwood back, and I guess now she's back for this one in like the last scene. The movie just ended. Okay, so there it is. Movie ends, directed by James Mangold, not Steven Spielberg. Oh, that was Antonio Banderas? I couldn't see him. The projection was so dark. John Rhys Davies, of course, Sala. Okay, there he is. So, yeah, I can't really review this movie because I didn't really watch it, but it was a good time here at the drive-in. Boyd Holbrook. Now, he's in that show Narcos. Yeah. I used to think he was like Hal Holbrook's son, you know, the actor Hal Holbrook. But he's not. He's just some guy named Holbrook. Yeah, Steven Spielberg did not direct this movie. And that may have something to do with what I totally started this point earlier, and I forgot to mention it. So the beginning of the movie opens up with the Disney logo. But then it cuts very oddly to the Paramount Mountain. And I don't think Paramount had anything to do with this movie. They did all of the previous ones, but now that Disney's got the rights, they don't have it anymore. So I think they just did it for fan service, I suppose. Because that's kind of where we're at right now, with the way that fans have such control of how movies are made, like with, you know, YouTube and Reddit. I think the people who make these movies just go on and see what the fans want. And what the fans want changes day to day. So it seemed like an afterthought. Like, they were about to release the movie, and they went on like Reddit, and they're like, "Hey man, Ravenwood 6969 says you want to see that Paramount logo turn into a mountain, because that's how the other movies start." And so they do that. But the weird thing is, the movie starts with the Paramount logo, but it doesn't change into a mountain. So why do it? I don't get that. There may be something I'm missing. Maybe Paramount did. I guess it was just a Paramount property, but at the same time, with Lucasfilm, like, Disney owns all of it now. And it's so weird of Disney to share credit with another studio. So I don't know what's going on with that. But the Paramount logo doesn't change into a mountain like it does in all the other movies. It's very, very strange. Unless I missed it. Like I said, the projection's very dark out here. And people had their headlights on still at the beginning of the movie. So, yeah, I think I always like it when that Paramount logo turns into a mountain, you know, because it's Steven Spielberg who has a thing with mountains, you know, like going all the way back to Jaws, where the kid is like building a mountain out of sand on the beach. And then, like in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, of course, very famously, where he keeps building the mountain out of the shaving cream and the mashed potatoes. And then eventually cutting off part of that mountain to reveal like Devil's Tower, Wyoming. That's where he's supposed to go to see the aliens. And yeah, of course, that culminates in Raiders of the Lost Ark when the Paramount Mountain at the beginning of the movie very famously turns into the mountain in like South America. And they replicate that in the other three movies. Like in Temple of Doom, it turns into like the gong. In Last Crusade, it kind of turns into the mountain out in like the desert. And then what I love is Crystal Skull. I think Crystal Skull actually has the best one, even though it's kind of interrupted by one of the worst CG creatures in movie history. The mountain, which is big and majestic, the Paramount Mountain, turns into a little molehill that like a prairie dog emerges out of. And like I said, it's really big, bad CG. But it's absolutely perfect and just kind of almost shows Spielberg's, I don't know, at the same time, kind of genius in the way that he makes movies. He makes really big, prestigious movies like Schindler's List, and then he makes like really just trivial genre fare like Jurassic Park. And also like his kind of contempt a little bit for the fans, because what that opening shot said was so many people for so many years were wanting another Indiana Jones movie, and they had built it up, and it became such a big deal that by the summer of 2008, there was absolutely no way this movie could be good and meet everybody's expectations. And so with the mountain turning into the molehill, it was like a perfect metaphor of like just Steven Spielberg telling everybody, like, listen, just try and enjoy this, okay? I don't know if you're going to like it, but just try to temper your expectations and just remember that in 1981, nobody thought this idea was going to be as big as it was going to become. It was just a goofy little genre movie that I was doing before I made E.T., okay? So just relax and enjoy it. And yeah, I think that was just brilliant in an otherwise okay movie that now everybody seems to hate. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, they don't do. The mountain doesn't change into anything in this one. It's so bizarre. I don't think the people who made this movie saw any of the other movies. I don't know. But yeah, James Mangold directed this movie, and I the thing is, I actually like him as a director. He directed a movie a few years ago that by myself I didn't really enjoy. It was this movie Ford versus Ferrari, but I went and saw it with my dad, who is a really big classic muscle car fan. You know, the movie is all about how Henry Ford Jr. was trying to live up to the gargantuan footsteps that his grandfather and father left for him. And he was trying to win at Le Mans against Ferrari. And, you know, just a really, really... when I saw it with my dad on the big screen, like in IMAX, it was just blew me away. It was such a wonderful use of CG effects and practical effects, and I really liked that movie. That was directed by James Mangold. And I think one of the really unsung movies of the 90s, he also did, called Copland, which was a great movie. the Sylvester Stallone. It was kind of like a modern day Western where Stallone is like the sheriff of this town that's full of like all these crooked, corrupt New York City transit cops. And he kind of has to stand up to them. It's a good movie. That was James Mangold, written and directed by him, if I'm not mistaken, with Ray Liotta and Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, of course, and just a ton of really great character actors from the 70s coming together in this great, really very small budget movie. Nothing like this one with a huge set. Okay, so the little that I have been paying attention to this movie, I was totally expecting to be really put off by computer-generated effects, like the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which was totally ruined by computer-generated effects. All the way from the very beginning of the movie with like the prairie dog, which is just looking at a cartoon of a cartoon. It was so bad and such a bad way to start that movie. All the way to like the monkeys and of course the terrible scene with the ants. I don't know how you would do a shot like that, like ants pulling a guy into like an anthill and devouring him. I don't know how you would pull that off with practical effects, but that's not my job. You figure it out. Yeah, but this movie, I was actually kind of surprised. I really, the only scene of CG that really bothered me at how terrible it looked was with the creepy crawlies. Yeah, climbing all over Phoebe Waller-Bridge and Harrison Ford. So yeah, that, and I guess he comes back and like everything is okay with Marion Ravenwood, and I guess he got his parents back together and saved the community center. There's that logo at the end of the credits, Lucasfilm Ltd. I'm all alone now. Everybody's left. There's a car that's still next to me, kind of. So I want to thank you so much for joining me here at the Grand River Drive-In in Leeds, Alabama for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yeah. You can check me out over at mikebooty.com/themidnightcitizen. You can check me out over at the Overnightscape Underground, onsug, ONSUG.com. And on YouTube also, I haven't said that, but I've been recording this whole episode on video as well. Like right now, I'm sitting in utter darkness. But you can see me on YouTube do this whole show. There's actually one bit, like a little 8-minute bit earlier, where I completely forgot to turn on my recorder. And under normal circumstances, I would have just re-recorded the whole bit or forgotten about it. But I ended up just being like, okay, the audio on my camera actually picked up everything okay. So I'm going to try and maybe put that into like Adobe Audition or something and maybe pump up the volume a little bit like Christian Slater so you can hear it a little bit better. So, yeah. But I will see you next time. Keep your eyes open.